And the coaching carousel continues to twirl round and round, seemingly making no sense. Just a day after I said, boy, I don't think Baltimore should fire Jim Harbaugh, they looked me straight in the old eyeballs and they said, Hat, I will see your wager and I will raise you. We're going to fire Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is fired as the Baltimore Ravens coach after 18 seasons, including a Super Bowl win. Now, if you look at it, he had 15 of those were above 500, barely under 500 in 2 of those 3 years. But, the NFL is a very fickle mistress, and she's going to change and do whatever she wants. What I do have to say, though, is Baltimore, look, if you're going to be moving on from the Hall of Fame caliber head coach, I'm going to say that with all my chest, a Hall of Fame caliber head coach in John Harbaugh, you better have a real good plan. There are some candidates, obviously all of the names, but we'll take a look at a few of them that I think actually fit, as well as I have a theory that the AFC North has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever and troll Zach Taylor for another 3, 5, 6 years. The AFC North has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever, right? So we will discuss that. But before we do, would you do me a rock solid favor? Could you subscribe to the channel if you're new here? Ring that notification bell so that you can be notified every single time that we upload a video here about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. But you'll also be notified. This is when the big heavy comes in, baby girl. You will be notified when we go live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's right. We got a live show. We take chats, super chats. We read articles. It is your based home for NFL and Detroit Lions content. We at Mad Hatter Nation, it is an island of sanity in a sea of nonsense. Go ahead and slap like on this video, share it around with everybody you know. It's the best way to get this pumped out there. And if you really like what we're doing, slap a hype if you got one to spare. If you've got a hype to spare, please, sir, I want some more. Go ahead and slap a hype on this video. So, breaking big news, right? Kind of, there was scuttlebutt around it. There was some buttily-do. There was some scuttlebutt around possibly John Harbaugh being fired. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And clearly, AP John Harbaugh says right here, John Harbaugh fired as Baltimore Ravens head coach after 18 seasons, including a Super Bowl win. John Harbaugh's 18-year tenured Baltimore included 2 distinct periods of success. Clearly, I have a 6th grade reading level. After taking over, Harbaugh capitalized on the last few years of his Ray Lewis-led defense, reaching the AFC title game 3 times in his first 5 seasons as a coach and winning a Super Bowl. Now, mind you, John Harbaugh was a special teams coordinator who got hired and given an opportunity to become a head coach in the NFL. And talk about taking the absolute most, getting everything you can out of your opportunities. Cheers to John Harbaugh. That's why I say, if you look at the NFL, you can't tell for the requirement. The requirement by the NFL to get into the Hall of Fame is you can't tell the story of the NFL without this player/coach. John Harbaugh, special teams coordinator. I believe he comes from the Andy Reid coaching tree. Special teams coordinator turned head coach, turned Super Bowl winning head coach, turned 18-year tenured head coach for the Baltimore Ravens. The most winning head coach in franchise history by 100 wins. The man has 180 wins under his belt in Baltimore. I'm going to be very, very honest with you guys, and some of you Baltimore fans might not hear this. The main reason why John Harbaugh was unable to return to the promised land and win himself a 2nd Super Bowl in Baltimore is because of Scary Sparkle. That's right, Scary Sparkle Spice. Lamar Jackson is the reason, holding John Harbaugh back. I think if he can go anywhere and have and this is no slight against Lamar Jackson, a more traditional pocket passing quarterback, I think the league is moving back to pocket passing with a upside of mobility, not just mobility with upside of pocket presence. And I think Lamar Jackson tries to do too much sometimes. I'm just going to be honest. From what I see, Lamar Jackson does try to shoulder too much of that load. Derrick Henry was brought in to do that for you, and it just didn't quite work out this year. And unfortunately, it's never really quite worked out for John Harbaugh with Scary Sparkle on roster. When Scary Sparkle arrived in 2028, the Ravens became a contender again, but there's been no conference championship yet in this particular era. And lately, Baltimore has experienced more angst than glory. Now, Scary Sparkle does have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever, and in his first year with the next head coach, win a Super Bowl with Baltimore and make me eat every single pound of crow that you can serve up to me. So Harbaugh is out of a job. And that sucks. Owner Steve Biscotti fired Harbaugh on Tuesday after the Ravens were one of the league's most disappointing teams this season. Yeah, they went 8-9 and missed the playoffs after entering week 1 as one of the Super Bowl favorites. And that is the Scary Sparkle effect is going to have high aspirations. When you have a MVP caliber player, you are expected to deliver MVP caliber results as a coach. Baltimore's season ended Sunday as Tyler Loop missed his last second field goal attempt, allowing Pittsburgh to hold on for a 26-24 victory in the game that decided the AFC North title, and even more so. And this really sucks for him. It was his first missed field goal of his career inside of 50 yards. That is an absolute kick in the old dickory-doo. This is an incredibly and difficult decision, given the tremendous 18 years we have spent together and the profound respect I have for John as a coach, and most importantly, as a great man of integrity, Biscotti said in a statement, quote, throughout what I firmly believe is a Hall of Fame coaching career, John has delivered a Super Bowl championship to Baltimore and served as a steadfast pillar of humility and leadership. Yes. Harbaugh was hired after coaching special teams and defensive backs for Philadelphia. With the Ravens, he went 193-24, including the postseason, or 193-124. Yeah, that'd be insane, including the postseason. He led the Ravens in 2012 to a Super Bowl title, and this season was only the 6th time Baltimore missed the postseason under Harbaugh. That's the same number of times the Ravens won the AFC North with him at the helm. So a little interesting metric there. But most of Baltimore's postseason success came in his first few years. After beating his brother Jim, who was coaching the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl, John Harbaugh was 9-4 in the playoffs for the rest of his tenure. He was just 4-7. After the Ravens went 3 straight seasons without a playoff berth, they drafted Jackson, star quarterback who won 2 MVPs in his first 6 years in the league. You see why he is a special player, a very talented individual. But Harbaugh's lone run to an AFC Championship game with Jackson was wasted 2 seasons ago when Baltimore lost at home to Kansas City, and they just decided that they were never going to run the ball in that game. I was hoping for a different kind of message on my last day here. Someday. No, but that day came today, Harbaugh said in a statement. It comes with disappointment, certainly, but more with gratitude and appreciation. Gratitude to the owner, the organization, who was willing to bring in a head coach who made his mark with special team success. That's a difficult thing to do. And appreciation for all the moments, all these years that are etched into eternity. Yes, John Harbaugh with some nice words. The 2025 season for Baltimore was a mess from the start. The Ravens looked great for much of their opener at Buffalo before blowing a late lead. Indeed, squandering significant advantages became a troubling trend for Harbaugh the last few seasons. And the Ravens have blown 10 double-digit leads in the second half in the past 6 years. That's going to lead to some frustrations amongst the Baltimore Ravens fans. No other team has done more than 7 times. After a hamstring injury sidelined Jackson, yes, we know how his season went. He was hurt, and they sputtered out of the gate. But despite Derrick Henry's early dominance on the ground and Jackson's sensational fourth quarter against Pittsburgh, their season ended in excruciating fashion. If Harbaugh's departure was departure was a result of that loss, which is not necessarily clear, then the missed kick at the end could have quite the domino effect throughout the league. If he wants to coach next season, Harbaugh may well be the most sought-after candidate on the market, and the Baltimore job might be the best available. Given the short-term possibilities with Jackson at quarterback and the organization's reputation for stability. I think they also have 6 Pro Bowlers. Of course, Harbaugh was a big part of the stability. He's been the coach for more than half of the Ravens' existence. When Baltimore has had to make changes on the staff, it's often gone pretty well. Mike McDonald was so good in his 2 years as a defensive coordinator that he became Seattle's head coach, and now he has the 1 seed in the NFC out in Seattle with, now, how weird would this sound a few years ago? The Sam Darnold-led Seattle Seahawks under the direction of Mike McDonald are the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. Yeah, that sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? Todd Monken took over as offensive coordinator in 2023, and Jackson immediately won his second MVP. Now the Ravens are in the middle of a shakeup. It wasn't that hard to see it coming, given how much they underperformed this season, plus what seemed like a possible disconnect with Jackson. It was hard to tell just how injured the star quarterback was at any given time, and Harbaugh's optimism on the topic didn't always come to fruition. Week 18 was the first time since early November that Jackson had a full week of practice. It's not going to get it done either. Harbaugh said late in the season that he had a A-plus relationship with Jackson, and Jackson said he wanted to be in Baltimore. Jackson was asked after the Pittsburgh game Sunday night if he wanted Harbaugh back. Quote, "You're asking me about next year," Jackson said. "I'm so caught up in what just happened tonight, I can't focus on that right now." Yeah, that's a stupid question to ask a guy that just got bounced. You know what I mean? A win and you're in, division title and you're in, on the road. I mean, just the emotional swing of that game. Dude, don't ask stupid questions. That's just, look, give the guys a few minutes to collect their thoughts. And I know they're professional athletes and they have media training, but give them a couple of minutes to collect their thoughts. So, as stated, Harbaugh is probably going to be one of the top end guys, right, for head coaching opportunities. I have seen reports, I think it was Ian Rappaport or Schefter on Twitter was saying that if you count Baltimore, there are 7 head coaching opportunities available right now, and John Harbaugh has received 7 phone calls, or at least his agent has, inquiring about his opportunity. So who could the 7th team be? Well, clearly it's a team that's in the playoffs or has not yet made a decision to remove their head coach yet. I think it's a playoff team simply because I think there is a possibility for the AFC North to do the funniest thing ever. Now, set that conversation aside for just a hot second. Baltimore, you better have a real good plan locked and loaded. I'm guessing that this is, you want to, look, we'll call John Harbaugh 20 years. That is a career. You should be retiring after 20 years of service in any industry, right? That is a very long time to be putting in time, putting in work, putting in effort. So eventually, as Harbaugh stated, that day was going to come and they were going to have to move on from him. There are some guys with some hot names and some hot tickets right now. So you better have a real good guy lined up. Here at USA Today, the Ravens coaching candidates who could replace John Harbaugh. Shout out USA Today. It's got some real good names lined up here. We're not going to go through everybody. You know most of the names, the Shula, the Kingsbury, the Kubiaks, you know. There are 2 guys. 2. Count them 1, count them 2. All right. I think everybody's pretty well confident in Jesse Minter, right? So Jesse Minter's kind of the top name at the top name of the list here. Jesse Minter, the Los Angeles coordinator's defensive coordinator. Maybe it's a bit awkward to hire a protege of the Harbaugh family who previously served under John as Ravens assistant from 2017 to 2020. But here's to betting that all parties could get over it relatively quickly. Minter has established himself as one of the most promising young minds on either side of the ball. Now, that is very crucial. Okay, there is clearly a youth movement in the NFL of coaching. You want to get young, hot names while they're still young and hot before they're young, hot, and expensive. Okay. There is also, and I'm not saying that it's just my guy, Dan Campbell, but guys like Dan Campbell, Mike Vrabel, the D'Amico Ryans down in Houston. These former high caliber, high pedigree players turned head coaches seems to be very impactful in the development and the connect between coaches and players. I think Detroit exemplifies that with their just coaching staff riddled with former high caliber players, top to bottom. Right. So I do think that Jesse Minter actually fits the mold of what you're trying to do. Not only does he come with the pedigree of being exposed to the Ravens organization, knowing what the brass likes to do behind the scenes, knowing the expectations, understanding the culture there, but he's also the hot young name that you can have. You know, if Baltimore's trying to repeat, watch what they did in Pittsburgh and rinse and repeat, they've had 3 head coaches in their tenure. Harbaugh's just coming out of his 18th season. They're moving on from him. Jesse Minter, with any type of success, you could be looking at a 10, 15 plus year long head coaching career. And Baltimore just continues this cycle of high caliber players, high caliber coaches. I do think Jesse Minter is a real hot name right now and is probably the route that you guys should go. If I was placing dollars to donuts, this is the route that I would go. Despite the defense shaping up as largely an undermanned unit short on significant investments, the Bolts ranked 5th this season in yards allowed. Given his background, Minter could allow Baltimore to retain some of its identity while still providing a fresh and needed voice to spark an underachieving group. I do have to go ahead and just asterisk this. The Bolts ranked 5th this season in yards allowed. You also had to play a Patrick Mahomes and down Chiefs team, as the Stripes seem to have abandoned their love affair with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as you got the luxury of playing the Las Vegas Raiders of Oakland twicey. Yeah, that's going to go ahead and kind of skew them numbers just a wee little bitty bit there. But again, an undermanned unit outperforming where they were projected to do, regardless of the competition of the division that they were in. Jesse Minter really elevated his status this offseason. So I do think that if you're reading the tea leaves, this is the route to go. Now, quickly, sorry, we need to go ahead and just say, obviously, Klint, Kubiak, Shula, Stefanski, Flores. You guys know the names. If you're watching this type of video, you know the name. Make sure that you comment, subscribe, like this video, share it around with all your friends, dude. You got to help us get off the ground level here, dude. Comment down below if you're a Ravens fan. What direction do you want to go with this? What are you finning? What are you feeling? Because honestly, if we look at the tea leaf that John Harbaugh has received 7 phone calls, there's 7 teams that are available, and one of those teams is the teams that just fired him. We do know that Mike Tomlin is considering that he's on the outs in Pittsburgh, whether it's mutual, whatever's going on there is a lot of scuttlebutt. Mike Tomlin's going to move on from Pittsburgh. If that happens, the AFC North will see 3 of its 4 teams have coaching turnover. Kevin Stefanski, I think, is also a really hot name. Now, there are mix and match 3 variants you could go, but you could take Tomlin, Harbaugh, and Stefanski, those 3 guys, and just rotate them. Harbaugh goes to Pittsburgh, Tomlin goes to Cleveland, Stefanski goes to Baltimore, and Zach Taylor just goes, "Damn it!" How about Cincinnati? You guys know Cincinnati. They're just happy to be here. I do think that would be one of the funniest trolls in NFL history. If those 3 guys just shifted interdivisionally, that would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. Personally, best spot, we'll end on this, guys. Best spot for Harbaugh to land, Big Blue. I think you pair up John Harbaugh with Jackson Fart and Dart, and you end up elevating Jackson Fart and Dart to, I'm not saying a Drake May type sophomore year, but yeah, I think Jackson Fart and Dart gets unlocked, especially with a healthy Malik Neighbors if you pair him with the Hall of Fame coach trajectory caliber of John Harbaugh. I think that's the absolute route to go. Ravens fans, sound off in the comments. What do you guys think? Giants fans, sound off in the comment. If you're an NFC or an AFC North fan, sound off in the comments. Do you want to see the funniest troll? Do you want to see the funniest thing ever happen in the NFL? Let me know down below. Guys, I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an attentive audience. Make sure you get that notification bell turned on so that you can be notified when we go live tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Until then, blah, 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 blah. I'll see you then. All right, guys. Bonga bonga. Frig off.